So when you're walking around a shop
Mm-hmm.
and you walk through the town, so like here, yes?
Yeah.
And you go in certain shops and there's that sort of feeling in each shop. Did you know that most sites that people went to worship
Yeah.
and then they say that they fell out of favor, do you know why they build churches in certain areas?
No.
They're building the churches on top of electromagnetic fields. Back in the day, this area felt holy.
Mm-hmm.
This area felt, I could feel something here.
Mm-hmm.
And people gather at geographical areas of wonder. You can take this around the whole entire world, but what about the ones that people feel a presence? This is very interesting, right?
Yeah.
Why do you go into a supermarket? You see, the modernization now
Mm-hmm.
comes.
Yeah.
So do you believe, and trust me when I say this, that towns were built, and I say were because there's a reason for it, are built on areas where there are fault lines, high intensity magnetic fields. This affects you far more than you'll ever know. So the Egyptians,
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't guess it, they've built them in many areas. So South Pole, yes, I believe they built it there. Under the magnetism, the magnetic field, I believe that they understood this. I believe there's another one at the equator, and they always label them in 3. So there could be one at the North Pole as well, if we would say that. But the problem is with all of that, the reason why I said was and is towns and have they been built on, this is why, you know the Roma, which is basically the RV that's converted into a shop.
Yeah.
The reason why it's on wheels is
Uh-huh.
because you find all of these magnetic areas. You notice that some people can go into a building and then they're like, I believe this building is haunted
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because we feel it. And then everyone's like, yeah, we're feeling that. Well, that'll make a good shop. I don't think people are picking up on spirits. I don't. I think they're picking up on magnetic fluctuations where the magnetism is more higher from the ground, and it's also known as a fault line.
Mm-hmm.
Sacred areas. So you would say that this church here was really popular at one stage. Well, it's no longer popular there. If you've noticed, it's moved. The popularity is now outside. That's because the magnetic influence moves. It doesn't stay in the same place, nor does magnetic north. It's constantly on the move. South is as well, and it fluctuates in intensities. There are cycles to this. Sloshing and slooping, it's also known as.
Mm-hmm.
Also, certain plants will either grow in high magnetic fields, and some things don't grow at all because it depletes energy and gives energy. And it makes you feel energetic. And then it's a bit like this, right? So if you are, every human has a magnetic field inside the heart that is readable outside the body. Now, if you go and get some ghost hunting equipment, these magnetic readers, they're not going to pick that up. Okay? They're not sensitive enough. So the equipment has been dialed back in order for it not to be sensitive enough to pick up your magnetic field that you're generating, I'm generating, and anything else. When people come together and they say that they felt like it was a really good time, that is because the magnetic field of each person connects toward one another. So when people go and rally for presidents in America,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going because they want to rally for the president or it's because they're going together. And that feeling of this intensity of the magnetic field feels good. Name me one event where people come together and do things together, which they do, and it's ever been bad.
For them, no.
No, for most people, you'll find that when they're in that, they say they enjoy the vibe. It was a really nice atmosphere.
Yeah.
Well, was it an atmosphere, or was it because the magnetic field in everybody's chest, let's say, and yours and mine and somebody else's and someone else's, being in close proximity? What happens when you have one magnet?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it attracts to something metal, and there you are. Not very, you have to be quite close to it.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if I keep on adding magnets into the whole of the room? Do you think I could make that magnet, when they all connect together, connect to a piece of metal from further distance?
Yeah.
So you amplify the magnetic field.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So you corrugate in the area. Well, when I walk in certain shops and that, I pick up on this frequency. And churches, pyramids have all been built on fault lines of magnetism, magnetic fields. And people back then didn't understand why they were going to these areas. They could say worship, they could say this, they could say that. Now the question is not whether I believe in religion or spirits or anything else, because I do. The question is not that. The question is, does this open a portal to that, to, somehow, you can always run away with religion. I'm not disproving it. I'm not disproving that ghosts aren't real. I'm not doing any of that. I believe in a little bit more of a different way to perhaps how people perceive that. But, there could be a magnetic field that people are picking up on and being able to tap into higher influences of themselves, let's say. And this is what keeps animals together, I think. So when we see a school of fish, you notice that they're together. They're feeding on this magnetic field of one another, I'm sure of it. And then birds, flock of birds. Birds follow magnetic field, they can see it. That's why I think Tesla made a lot of references to, I think he said something about be weary of someone who likes birds or be fascinated with someone that likes birds, because birds overall can see your magnetic field. And if your magnetic field is more, X, Y, Z. So all of these sacred places have been built on magnetic fields. And the reason why people go there today and are like, I didn't really feel anything. Yeah, because if they built that over 5,000 years ago, the magnetic field has moved miles away from there. So perhaps the Stone Age has gone on for such a long time, yes, that there would have been better rulers than anybody else, yeah? I don't even know if that's even true. More popular rulers than others. Whatever, it's just people coming together. Feeling that prehistoric, feeling magnetism, just feeling that field, I think that's why people come together. And then they label it all these weird and wonderful things. Now it's called shopping. And I believe that they would have tapped into this, especially here. They're very tapped into it, but it's moved. The fields have moved. They're not as concentrate in the areas, but you'd need a very highly sensitive piece of equipment to be able to. And again, you're attracted to it. Well, we're talking magnetism, after all. Doesn't it attract and repel?
Yeah.
But it more so attracts than it does repel.
Yeah.
So when you start to piece all of that together, you start to see quite sacred sites. Why did they build the pyramids? Well, because there was a high level of magnetism, I'm sure of it, a fault line. I think Masons still do this to this day.
Yeah.
Still seek out these different frequencies. It's about sounds, I believe, hertz frequency. The main one I pick up on, I think, is around 4 to 8. So yeah, there you are. So sound frequency, that affects you.
Yeah.
But again, sounds influence static. Static would play into your magnetism, your own magnetic field.
Yeah.
Hence why people that like it, the bass on the chest,
Yeah.
again, that is electromagnet. Funny, isn't it? Music is then a frequency that produces a sound, one that's audible, but yet there are some that are not audible, but you still feel it. Because
still
you're
feel it.
feeling that magnetic frequency is what you're doing.
And if bass is missing, you are missing something. If someone plays it with bass and then turns off the bass, you are like,
If something's missing.
yes, something is missing. It doesn't sound so good, even though it might not
Right.
be the sound but the vibration.
Yeah. So you then understand that Earth's natural. You're born into it. When you're born into something, you'll never notice that, well, never say never. You are not as aware, unless you really have got some severe discipline with yourself, then you become aware. So is it that there could be a sound that the brain is picking up on, but your awareness of it, because it's not audible, that you're not fully consciously aware of it, but your subconscious mind is fully aware of that sound, that feeling. And certain music can make you feel insecure, and some of it can make you feel warm.
And some of it you like.
Yes.
You have your favorites for whatever vibration reason.
And Christmas music.
Yeah.
This has been put into Christmas music deliberately. Hence why they really stand out, this type of music. I think it's because it's got a type of frequency that is matched to the season, which might make you get into a supermarket. Again, adding into this, you know, when you go into a shop without a radio on, and versus one that does have a radio on, try and mimic the same radio frequency that you're getting in a shop. After all, they're going to be heavily invested in science, and their science is going to be about frequencies that don't repel, sound frequency that brings you in, makes you feel warm, makes you feel good, and it's got to have a little bit of a lasting effect for when you get home. And then, if we talk about products, everything is magnetism, and when you understand this, it's pottery that helps you understand it more so. When they made pottery, it holds the magnetic field alignments in it. So therefore, you can charge up goods with it. Think about that. Okay, when it comes away from that environment, it's still going to have a level of this charge on it. If you think about it, rivers, or do they flow? Again, what is it? It's carving. Is it getting closer to the magnetic field? Yes, I'd say so. Some caves have a warming presence to them, a luring effect, and some are like, I don't know if I like that. And certain spots in the world make you feel a little bit and. So yeah, for me, Egyptians would have been quite established, and I think they might have traveled. How many magnetic flips do you think have occurred in the Stone Age from Mesolithic and beyond? How many flips do you reckon have happened in that time? Considering the Metal Age that we are all accustomed to as far back as history can go, to be honest, we're still playing catch up if you think about it, is only this big. The Mesolithic is massive, and there is no definitive answer as to how far back that has gone, because in science there's so many gaps in it. They don't know all of the, because if they did, they would know all the food. They would know all of this, unless it's been hidden deliberately. Again, I don't know. But in that, think how far back that's gone. And then how much movement would they have done? Would they have followed the magnetism? Hematite would have been fascinating to anybody that was born with little or limited understanding. The way hematite sticks to other, you know, they would have been fascinated with that. The way it attracts, the way it repels. They'd have balanced it on leaves, on water. They'd become very sacred with the stuff and experimented with it, because this new thing would have taken center stage. They can't feel it. You can't see it. But look at what happens when I put these two together.
Yeah, it does something, doesn't it?
And then others would have tried with other rocks, not got any result. And then this is how they found metal, because it stuck to it. The first significance of metal was the fact that hematite stuck to it. Then, if you rub this stuff against it, it also became there you are, energy you can transfer energy. I mean, it's very fascinating, but would the magnetic field have moved? Would they have known that? I think they would have done. And I think they would have known the north and south of the time. I don't think the pyramids were the equator point for back then. I think that was a north once. Well, you can't truly know for sure. Magnetism is a fundamental rule of this universe, I think, is you gotta have it. It seems to show itself in a lot of places. It seems to be in everything, literally. And things are really either repelled from it or drawn to it in its nature, and people and different things like this. And it's interesting, really, isn't it? But magnetic fields, and then compass to point your direction toward a place or away from a place. But yeah, so unfortunately, with all shops staying in the same place all the time, oh dear, we better bring them all down and rebuild them again. What could possibly do that? Because they'd have to realign them again. No one's coming in my shop anymore. Well, it's not because your products were shit. People were just coming in for the vibe, I think. And natural is the most potent. Artificial got its issues. Interesting, but yeah, I'm gonna leave that one there because that was quite a nice journey. That.